Hey peeps, welcome back to Word Magic, and today I am going to be answering some reader questions for you. So sit back and sign up for my channel and hit the ringer bell to get notifications of new videos coming out, and we'll get started. So a little bit about me in case you're not sure who I am and you just stumbled on my channel. I am Yasmine Galenorn. I am a New York Times, USA Today, and Publishers Weekly bestselling author. I have over 65 books out, and I spent 20 years in traditional publishing, and the past 4 years I've spent in indie publishing. And I'm pretty happy at it. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm going to start answering questions now. So for the first question, Missy asks if Whisper Hollow is a real place, and if not, did I model it on any towns over on the peninsula? Well, no, it's not a real town. For which we probably should be grateful. It is based on a number of small towns over on the peninsula. There are a lot of little towns over there. And Crescent Lake actually exists. I'll tell you a little story about that in a moment. The Olympic Peninsula is a very haunted place, though. And it was the perfect place to put a town like Whisper Hollow. Now, there's a town over there called Port Gamble, which is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in Washington State. And there's a lot of sightings of Sasquatch and other creatures over there, and a lot of tribal lore from the tribes that lived in the area and that still live in the area. Now, I was going to tell you a little story about Lake Crescent. I'm not sure whether it's Lake Crescent or Crescent Lake. It's used, both versions are used. And I usually call it Lake Crescent, but a lot of people call it Crescent Lake. So one or the other, it's the same thing. The Lady of the Lake actually kind of exists, only in a very different form than I created her. Back in the 30s, there was a couple who constantly fought and argued, and one day the wife did not show up to her work, and people couldn't figure out what happened. Her husband said she had run off with somebody. So time went on and he left the area, and people were suspicious because of the nature of the arguments they had had. But a few years later, down on the lake, up pops this body from deep in the lake. Now, the strange thing is that the woman's body had undergone what is called saponification. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Which means that the fatty acids in the body basically interact with the chemicals in the lake and turn into soap. So she was one giant bar of soap, so to speak, which was really creepy. The lake also does take a lot of people. There have been a lot of accidents over there. You do not want to go driving quickly around the lake at any time, especially in rainy weather. A couple trains have derailed into the lake in the past. Just a lot of accidents. And I have dear friends who lived over there when they were young. In fact, my workout partner lived in the area. And there is a general consensus of you are very careful around the lake, because the lake will take who she wants, and she doesn't give them up very easily. And so, yeah, Whisper Hollow may be fictional, but a lot of the energy of the books, very real, very apt. And when I've been over there on the peninsula, I felt that energy. So, very strong. So there's the answer on that. Next question. Sarah asks, what things are real in your books? For example, the Space Needle is real, Camille's bookshop is not, etc. Well, let me give you a rule to go by. If anything really bad happens somewhere, except for like the harpy fight on the Space Needle, that's probably a fictional place. It is not wise to place bad events, nasty events, murders, things like that in a real setting. The shop owners could get very upset at you if you do that. So I've created a lot of shops and districts that intermingle with the actual places over in Seattle and on the east side. For example, the Sisters neighborhood in the Otherworld series, Bell's Fair, that's a fictional neighborhood. It is sandwiched in among neighborhoods like the Broadway district and the University district and other places like that. And I do that for all of my series. Now, the Island of Bedlam in the Bewitching Bedlam series does not exist, but the San Juan Islands do. And I sort of just placed it at the end of the San Juan Islands. In my very short-lived Bath and Body series, Gull Harbor and the island there is sort of a clone of Bainbridge Island. So it's not technically real, but it's kind of real. It takes a deft hand to interweave the fictional in with the real and make it seem real. The Chintz and China series, I had a woman insist to me that she had been through Chiquita, Washington, and I kept telling her, no, it doesn't exist. It really doesn't. There's a patch of grass in that area, along Highway 9. Nothing there. I've been there. And she was like, no, I've been there. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, you haven't. But apparently the town was so real to her, she was convinced she had been through it. So apparently I did my job right. So there's the answer to that. Now, Robin asks an interesting question that I actually have been wanting to elaborate on. She says, I've noticed that your more recent work has had much less explicit sex than the Otherworld or Indigo Court books. Is this intentional? If so, can you say a little bit about what went into this decision? She wants to make sure I know she's not complaining either way, and I appreciate that. I don't mind questions like that as long as it's not like a complaint. If it's a complaint, well, I'm sorry, too bad, but if it's an actual question, hey, that's fine. So to answer your question, Robin, yes, there is less sex in a lot of my books now. And it's not because I don't like writing sex scenes or that I feel bad about writing them. I actually don't mind writing them. But I was required to put extra sex into the books by my ex-publisher, and there were times I just didn't want to. It didn't fit. It didn't feel right, but I had to. They were like, we really want you to add some, you're really good at writing sex. And they tried to make it into a compliment, but it was more of a put more sex in the books because sex sells. Well, for me, a sex scene, I'm writing a bit less explicit or a bit less graphic scenes. I do not mind writing about sex, but I got really tired of how many ways can I fit slot A into slot B, and what language am I going to use, and blah, blah, blah. The books that I'm writing now, some will have more sex than others, and it all depends on the characters involved. It depends on what's going on in the books. It depends on the energy at that point. Raven and Keepa in Witching Bones. You'll notice there's more sex in Witching Bones than there has been in a number of the Wild Hunt books. That's because there are hot little bunnies for each other. So, and Maddie and Aegis, they really have fun in bed. But I'd rather sprinkle it in than feel like I have to put in every book, or that I have to make sure that I've got XX pages of XXX. So I just got tired of being required to write it. And now when there is a sex scene, it's one that I really wanted to write, that I really felt impelled to write. So you'll know that the sex in the books that I'm writing now is there because I really wanted it to be there, not because I was forced to put it in. So that's the answer to that question. And I'll be right back. I need to find some more questions here. I've had a couple of people ask if I want you to let us know when there's a typo in the book or something. Typos, sure. Note them down, email my assistant Jen, and or message her on Facebook and let her know. However, if you are trying to make editorial suggestions, as in, I think it would read better this way, I think it would sound better if you took this word out and used that, don't bother. I will not entertain editorial suggestions. I have a good editor. I have a stylistic voice that is mine, and I am not going to rewrite my books because somebody thinks they're a better editor than the one I've got. If you want to play editor, edit your own work, or go get hired by somebody. But as terms of typos, or if there's a formatting problem so the book doesn't read right in terms of how it's been formatted, please do let us know, and I will change them as soon as possible. Now, I prefer that you contact either me via my contact page on my website, or preferably my assistant, and I will put a link. I will put her email down below in a form that hopefully the bots won't be able to pick up. But definitely let us know on the typos and formatting issues, and we will do our best. I'd prefer that you let us know. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I prefer that you let us know rather than report it to Amazon, because let me tell you, that twigs things so bad. They keep harassing you until you change it, and sometimes about 50-70% of the time, what people report are not typos. They are, again, editorial suggestions. Well, I think you should write it this way. And it's like, I'm sorry, no, not going to change that. But Amazon will take it as a report and send it to the author. And then we have to deal with trying to tell Amazon, no, this is not a typo. So please let us know through my assistant or through my contact page. I appreciate that. I've been asked several times if I'll put my books in Kindle Unlimited. I don't think so, because then it removes any possibility of my readers who use Nook or Kobo or iBooks to get the books. And it also, frankly, unless you really go into Kindle Unlimited on a wholehearted basis and really work it, I wouldn't make the money I need to make to continue writing. So that's going to be it for tonight, and it was fun talking to you and answering your questions. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below, and if they're ones that I think would be good for a video, I will put them in my video. If they're simple, I will probably answer them below. You can leave them in my Facebook group. My assistant always has a reader questions post that you can add questions to, and she will take them and give them to me. And you can always put them on my blog as well. I do answer a lot of questions on my blog. So I wish you a happy weekend, a great new coming week, and I will be doing more videos. And I'd like you to post, if you would, what kind of videos you'd like to see. I'm loving doing the plan with me videos, but then I'm a planner freak. So I'm very, very much into that community. I can possibly do some more writing videos. I've noticed that those aren't the ones that people watch the most. They tend to like my reader questions ones. They tend to like the ones where I just am on here briefly saying hi. And the Plan With Me videos seem kind of popular. So let me know what you're interested in below. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're interested in hearing more of me. Hit the notifications bell if you would like to get notified when I have new videos out. And until next week, have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.